Welcome to Shamford. I'm Jessel, and here we discuss all things 3D printing. Today I want to show you how I'm trying to fix the worst dust maker in my garage, my miter saw. I'm still in the early stage of the project, so you can follow along. About a year and a half ago, I modeled a custom chute for my saw that was really good. It actually worked really great. But it had one massive catch. It only worked for straight 90-degree cuts. Lately, I've been doing some baseboard and crown molding projects throughout the house, which means constant miter cuts. Each time I need to make one, I have to take the custom chute off and go back to the useless stock setup. The airborne dust is getting crazy. Initially, I wanted to just buy a nice aftermarket chute from Shop Nation, which is a well-known store online, but I got some serious sticker shock. After shipping fees to Canada, it's in the mid $80 range. I'm sure it's a nice product and been tested well and everything, but I figured, why not try making my own first? I mentioned a couple times in past videos that I prefer to buy if someone already made the thing I need, and I'll only make something if it doesn't exist or I think I can save some money very quick. For this project specifically, it's the latter, and since the price is kind of high, I think I can justify spending a little more time than usual, but at the end of the day, if it's getting too complex or too stressful, I'm happy to open my wallet. So I went out to the garage to grab some measurements, and I noticed the stock chute uses a piece of rubber cut to a specific shape. And that's when I thought 95A TPU at that same exact thickness might be perfect. So I came back inside with this original piece. I traced it and created this replica, which has this extra bottom section that doesn't exist on the original one. All right, I just came back from trying it on. I don't think the chute can grow any longer this way because it's going to touch the ground or the bed of the saw. But I'm thinking the side walls could be a little taller, so it feels like the chute is covering the saw. But I don't want to get too close to the saw because what happens when I'm cutting a taller material or thicker stock is that it would touch the wood and bend like this. And this is dangerous. All right, the second iteration is here, but I already see a major issue with it. I was so focused on making this part bigger, I forgot about the top. So in my mind, it should have been almost like a square shape, but I made it like this. So this is not going to work, but let's at least learn something from this piece. Okay, here's a piece of glass because I don't have a cutting mat. Let's do some live action here. And take the steel piece from version 1. The other issue that I see is that because it's now larger, it's going to want to spread out a little more. So I don't think it's going to hold that original shape anymore. Yeah, I'm gonna hurt myself pretty soon. Okay, so it looks like this. Yeah, it's not bad, but down here I think it's a little wider than I would like. So maybe I need some reinforcement, or instead of printing it flat on the build table, I can maybe build a couple of straps into the model and apply some tension so it kind of forms that circular shape. Unfortunately, my camera stopped recording. There's a 5-minute recording limit, and I haven't figured out yet how to bypass that. So I don't know. I don't know how much footage I lost. So let me sort of do a quick recap here. So I cut this piece, a sacrificial piece, to simulate having a strap. When we overlap the two parts here, it's going to form a more gradual circular shape. Yeah, now I'll tweak it a little bit more and get the third version out. And by the way, this is pretty close to the size of the build plate on my A1 Mini, which I use exclusively for TPU printing, so hopefully I don't have to switch printers. Right, here we go, it's the next day, and this is the third version. It took me a little longer than 3 hours. So in this new version, I made it more like a square shape, and to be able to bend the model in the middle, I have some complex geometry. I'll show that in a bit. And finally, I have the slits cut into the part itself rather than me trying to cut it out with a utility knife. Yeah, let's give it a go. This is my first time trying. And I expect this to be very hard. Not joking. Oh, actually no, it was easy. Okay, this is supposed to be separate right here. Okay, so when it is installed, it's gonna look something like this. I don't know, I'm not sure about this angle. Is it going to work with the blade? The blade's diameter is 12 inches. This seems a little too abrupt. I don't know. Only one way to find out. Okay, I just came back from a bunch of testing in the garage. I'll show a series of B-rolls and talk over them. I installed the third version on the saw and immediately I didn't like the angle, like I said at the bench. So I cut a new set of slits to make the angle more gentle. After I started cutting some materials, I noticed that dust particles were getting deflected off the flat part of the TPU, so I went back to the original angle, the one that I said was too abrupt. Then I saw big improvements. I tried cutting a 2x2, a 2x4 in the tall position, and finally, the worst possible scenario, putting a shallow groove in a wide MDF board. I think all tests went well. Here's the footage of the area behind the saw after making 10 shallow grooves on the MDF board. Definitely not as good as the shroud I'm currently using, but the convenience factor won me over. I'll be using the new solution going forward. I think there's one more dimension to the test matrix, the pressure of the suction. I've had my 4-inch dust collector hose adapted down to slightly less than 2 inches for all of these clips, which is known to be not very effective. So I might try hooking up a vacuum instead to see if static pressure helps, but that'll be beyond the scope of this video. For now, I'm happy enough with the new solution to replace my old one. Actually, a fun fact, I looked up the date I made the original shroud, and it was completed today exactly 2 years ago. Anyway, I'll make the design file available for download for free on my website with an optional donation if you like. And for those without a 3D printer, I'll ship physical copies for a small fee to cover the cost of materials and shipping. My miter saw was not popular to begin with, and now it's discontinued, so I'm not sure how many of you are interested in buying one, but I'll put the link down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.